Okay, this video is going to be about my pond renovation and rebuilding. I built my pond about 18 years ago using a straight 3 sand to 1 cement concrete mix with polypropylene fiber and acrylic in the mix. If I were doing it today, I certainly wouldn't use that mix. It's not suitable for ponds, but that's what I knew 18 years ago. So anyway, I have a couple leaks I've had in the pond, and this video is going to be about what I'm doing to remodel it, fix the leaks and that kind of thing. So it'll be in 2 parts. So let's get started. I'll start by draining my pond. Drained the pond down, left the deepest end with water in it so the turtles can stay, have a place. That's the deep end. That leaves the shallow end dry so that I can do the remodeling that I want to do here. That bar that's across there so that I can drape a tarp over the top. Yesterday it was 96 degrees, so I draped the tarp over see the tarp over there. I draped the tarp over that, just put a piece of pipe across so that I could drape the tarp over and shade the pond from the intensity of the sun in midday. Today it's cloudy and overcast, and that's only about 83 degrees, 83 to 85 degrees, so it's much cooler than it was yesterday. So I can get in and do a little work. Anyway, what I want to do is I want to get rid of the round rock that I had made 17 years ago and turn it into flat rock. I also want to do some repairs, but 10-12 years ago we had an earthquake that literally cracked the end of the pond at east end of the pond. And also people have asked me about can I just use a 3-to-1 concrete or cement sand cement mix? And I said, well, it's not really a good idea if you're going to do that with a pond. Said a lot. That was what was recommended to me 17 years ago, was a 3-to-1 sand cement with acrylic in it and fiber, and that would be good. But little did I know then what I know now about freeze-thaw cycles. And if you take a look, there you can see what happens with a 3-to-1 sand cement mix. It's deteriorating after all these years, and that torn out spot is where the water level is when the pond is filled. And you can see the effects of freeze-thaw because the ice on this gets 2-3 inches thick, and it freezes and thaws all winter long, and it takes its toll. The earthquake that we had didn't help anything either, because about that area is also where it had to be patched. You can see a patch right there. Had to be patched, and it's deteriorating as well. So I'm going to be repairing that. After I do my shallow end, I'll be repairing that end, and I'll show you the results then. In the meantime, when we get down here, I'm going to tear out the round rock, cut the tops off, and you'll see how they were made 17 years ago. Here's my little Bosch Bulldog. It's a hammer drill, and it does a pretty good job. I'll show you. We're going to tear apart some round rocks. I'm going to cut the tops of these off. I also want to, this is where the pipe used to come in to take the water back to the top of the waterfall. I want to cut that lower so that I'll be able to cover and hide that pipe a little better. I'm going to cut this off here. It'll take me a while. Okay, so this is the lightweight material that I used to make the surface rocks. Mixed styrofoam beads with it. That's 17 years ago, folks, and it's still pretty hard. You also saw there were chunks of styrofoam that were coming out of there. I use those for filler. It's held up pretty well, but I don't like the round rocks anymore. I want to make it all flat rocks. Get it looking like Starved Rock or up at the Wisconsin Dells. It'll make it easier for people to get down to the lower levels. Here you can see I'm getting some of that removed, and when the kids come over from the school, they'll be better able to get down right at the water level and feed the fish and the turtles. And I'm also redoing my spillway into my filter system. Once those round rocks are off of there, I lowered the opening to it so that if I lose water from the pond because of a leak or excessive evaporation, it's going to be able to drop quite a bit before I have to add water to it. I'm going to continue with my bulldog and tearing these apart, and then I'm going to make new rock on there. Okay, that debris has to all be picked up.
Sunny, bless you. Sunny is so Are you gonna adjust the turtle pool? Sunny? Don't you dare stick it up. No. No, Papa.
Okay, here's what I've got removed now, all those flat rocks. I got an opening made here for the pipe to go into the, or the pipe to come from the pump. I opened up my opening to the pump thing so that it can now lower. I'll make a valve for it in another video. So as you can see, I've got removed up to here. Anyway, as you can see from here, a lot of these old round rocks were made from styrofoam chunk filler, styrofoam beads to make them lightweight. I'm not going to do them. I'm just going to fill this in now, make it all flat. Same here. Dig out a portion here, make a concrete piece to go into the come out of the filter where I'll put the pipes, and then there'll be a rock that will cover everything so you can't see the pipe anymore. And I'm going to end up making a mix to cover this. These are the rocks I'm replacing. These have been here for 17 years, and they're made up of, there's just a layer, maybe half an inch layer of mortar over the top. Lightweight concrete. It's got styrofoam beads and styrofoam chunks in it. Where I've cut it away, you can see those chunks of styrofoam. Even had some plastic bottles in there to fill. Anyway, people ask me how well this has stood up. Does it stand up to kids? There's a school over there. 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. 5th graders come over here for the last 12 years or so, even more, maybe more than that. 14 years, I think, on field trips. And those kids have stood on, stomped on, and walked on these rocks for 14 years at least. These rocks have been here for 17 years. And is there cracks? Yeah. There's a little crack there. But nothing major. They've held up real well. So that could be repaired, but what I'm doing is I'm cutting these off and I'm getting rid of the round rocks. I'm going to make flat rocks so the kids, when they come over, can get closer to the water and hand feed the turtles. So I'm going to put a little bit of water on this, spraying it. And I've got a very loose mixture that I'm going to apply. Openings. Sorry, flowers. These zinnias are blooming. The first batch I put on here is already set up. That was about less than half an hour ago. It's got its initial stuff. Yeah, I hit it with a wet brush. Smooth it out, fill in any bug holes. Here we are 2 days later. I'm sure glad that I added some CSA to my mix. That caused it to set up relatively fast because about a little more than an hour after we put this concrete down, we got an inch of rain. The next day, which was yesterday, was 96 degrees with extremely high humidity. It was impossible to work out here. So we put off doing anything yesterday, and last night we had some storms. In fact, We had so much storms that we ended up with more than 5 inches of rain. And today I spent cleaning up the mess because in part of that storm there were some high winds and made a mess of things, but that 5 inches of rain kind of did a number on my drained pond. It basically filled it about half full. And the reason so much got in there was, this overflowed with its 5 inches, this overflowed with its 5 inches, and this overflowed with its 5 inches, and of course 5 inches that fell into the stream also flowed into this pond. As a result, it's no longer just the deep end that's got water in it, it's the whole thing that has water in it, and it's about half full. So as I said, I spent today cleaning up the mess from all the wind blowing things around the yard, making a mess out of everything. Tomorrow, first thing I've got to do is get the pump back out, pump water out of here, so that I can get back to work on finishing up the rock work on where we started. So tomorrow's another day. And next 10 are supposed to be in the low to mid 80s with storms in the forecast again. So we'll have to work quickly. Okay, I'm pumping the water out of here. Got a pump down in there. That's the waterfall pump. I know some of you are going to ask how I get the water out. Well, there she is. Yeah, it's pumping. Yeah, it won't take long to get that down. Might as well feed the roots of that tree. So, there it is. Turtle guy. The water's simply going to be down there pretty soon, back where it was for a while. Okay, we're down close to 4 inches now. I just want to get down here. As obviously, there is a crack and deterioration I need to address, plus that area there. That's the source of our leak. Well, we're getting there. Just a few more minutes and we'll have it back down. We have to wait for that to drain down on that side. A little deeper on that side. Alright, last of the water is draining down from the shallow end. That's about good. We'll unplug that thing now. Low enough. Okay, here's why I'm pumping the pond out. Pumped the water out, dumped it over the edge, which means it ran behind the wall, and you can see where it's leaking in to the pond. So if it's leaking in, doggone well it's also leaking out. So that's spots I have to repair, along with that corner over there. And we'll get to it as soon as we finish the shallow end. Okay, we're ready to make concrete rocks. We're going to overhang here. I'm going to have to move the zinnias out of the way. But before I do, I'm going to have to clean up here where I want to overlap, have these sticking out. Rocks will come pretty much off of here and overhang, so we're going to have to clean this up. And clean that up, I'm going to use this little grinder. It's got a diamond wheel on it, and demonstrate how that works. ready and start making flat rocks to cover things. Part of the reason I'm working on this pond is I want to make some modifications as well as repair a leak at the east end. But, over the years, observing my turtles, and I now have 23 of them, I've noticed that they like to go certain places and do certain things, and they have a difficult time getting there. So I'm making modifications that will make it easier for them to move from one area of the pond to another. So I'm going to make some rocks along the edges of the pond, certain places that will allow the turtles to be able to get up and down much easier. Show you a couple examples. For example, here, turtles want to go from the main pond, climb up here into this side pond, and it's very difficult for them to get up there. So what I'm going to do is make a rock that will be at water level, the normal water level that they can climb up onto and then get into the other pond. And to do that, what I'm doing is making some mesh shapes, and to make it easier to work, I'm going to cover the bottom of all these pieces with a layer of concrete. Then that curved up part, I'm going to put some mounting hardware in to attach them to the walls, and then I'll after that's all done, I'll cover them with concrete and shape them into rock shapes. And that's where I'm at right now. And the poor little guys are down here in this lower level. The water's getting pretty dirty. I pumped it out the other day and replaced it with some clean water. So I'm kind of anxious to get some of this done. I've got other areas over here where I've got pieces of metal lath ready to be covered on the bottom. That's my next step. I'm going to go up and mix some concrete and do that. Anyway, here's an example of what I've done. This is covered with concrete on the bottom side, and then this will be attached to the wall of the pond and concrete applied along the back. After that all hardens, then we'll shape it into a rock, and that'll make a ledge that'll help the turtles to get out. Once you've had one side covered, the bottom side, it's hardened. I'm going to put this right here, and we'll build this up. I'm going to get a step for the turtle to get up here. And what we're going to do to put those on right there. Okay, right there. We drill a hole, and we put one of these on with a fender washer. I'll go through there and hold them on. Take one of these. Let's concentrate, and I'll put it all over that connector. Oh, forget my hammer. Put that anchor in. That's all there is to it. water in it. After washer. And also some of this. These ipex. Put it on the connectors. Come on. Get in there. Okay. Okay. And then what we'll do is put some concrete along here, let it harden, and then we'll finish this. Okay. The coating has been applied along the top to seal in where it was attached, and it's hardened because I used some CSA in it. And now that's good and solid, very solid. Now the next step is to put the topping on it to make it look like a rock, like these over here. There's 2 steps that I did for the turtles to get into that pond up there from the lower pond. Make it easier. I used to have a pile of rocks there and it just was kind of messy. So now the turtles can use that step to crawl out to nest. They can use that step and this step to get into the pond. Pretty soon, guys, you'll be back in the whole pond. Pretty soon. This is the little wall that I'm building, one of 2, to separate the shallow end from the deeper end. The one pipe that's down here is the pass-through for the main water line that I'll be running. And then this one is an opening to allow water to flow through. And if I want to segregate the shallow end, I just plug this, and then I can fill the shallow end with and hold the water back. Now what I want to do is I want to cover this edge, and it's kind of hard to do it with a normal mix. So what I'm going to do is use a clay-like mix. Today it's very, very hot. We're going to alter our mixers a little bit. And I'm just going to make a small amount. I'm going to use a 10 cup or 5 cup measure. I'm going to pick up 1 1 container of sand. And I put the cement in here to make it easier to get to. One container of cement. Alright, 5 cups. This is a 1 cup. I'm not going to use any silica fume. I'm going to use some metakaolin. So I have 5 cups. 1 cup of metakaolin is 20%. No silica fume, I don't want it very sticky. I'm going to use about half a cup of CSA. The reason I'm going to use the CSA so that this sets up fast. We're expecting thunderstorms this afternoon and I don't want this to be damaged by the rain, so I'm using about 5% CSA to speed things up. Or about 10% CSA to speed things up. Then I need to get a handful of PVA fiber, put that in, and then lastly I'm going to use some Zypex, and I want about 3% Zypex. And that's integral Zypex additive, and that's all I really need. That's 1 part sand, 1 part cement, 20% of the cement content, and metakaolin, about 5% or 10% of the CSA. So sand, cement, 1-to-1, CSA to speed it up, metakaolin, 20%, and now we're going to hand stir this. And we're going to then add the acrylic, 3-to-1 water acrylic. Alright, I'm just going to mix this hand. The dry stuff. Mix, and I use 1 part cement. I'm going to start out by using about half a part of my liquid. I know that that's going to mix up awful dry. Want to add too much at a time. Slowly. Close. Okay, we're getting pretty close, so now what I'm going to do is take my hands, start eating it, mixing it that way. This is what I have, and I know this is going to start to set just fast with this heat. It's over 90 degrees today. I'm going to add a tiny bit more. Mix that in, and then I'll stiffen before I really get to using it. have. It's just a little on the wet side, but it's going to set up pretty quickly. Take this down. Take a patty. I wet my glove. And then what I do, where I need it, glove, turn it over, and I got a pancake. Set up real quick. Put a little water in my glove. One thing just fell out of the tree. Okay, there's my edges all covered. These are rocks that have been stained. Hello. Okay, here's the shallow end. Pretty much done. Got the new walls in between, separate the deeper end and the shallow end. And now I'm beginning to fill the shallow end so I can move the fish and turtles over there and work on the deep end. And there we are. Got the water running into that upper pond. It's allowed to mix with the old pond water and also to give the chlorine an opportunity to dissipate before it gets down into here. I'm running it over the little spillway. That will get the chlorine out of it. So that's how it looks different what it used to be. You don't see any pipes now there, because there is where the pipe comes out of the pump pit, and it's completely covered with concrete, and that's where the small pipe goes into the small upper pond, and that pipe down there is where it will go to the waterfall. And that is where the big pipe to the waterfall goes. also covered with concrete. And so, first stage, the first step of the rejuvenation. We still got to make covers for the pump pit. But restoration and rebuild of the pond is now partway done, and this will be continued in the future.